I'm really excited for the next part of our program. For those families who are newer to Gould, you hear a lot about our 4-point program. And this morning, you're going to get to hear about our 4-point program directly from the mouths of some of our students who experienced it. So I'm going to introduce Chris Hayward to talk about the 4-point and introduce the students. Thanks.
All right, good morning. For those that know me, you know that I live and breathe the 4-point program. And sometimes I think I make an assumption that everyone knows what that means. So every year in January or February, I get an email or someone comes into my office, a student or a parent, and they say, what does it mean? What are the 4 points? And that usually inspires a really fun conversation and a pretty simple answer that I'll get to in a moment. To me, 4-point represents so much of what makes Gould special. It's the magic of Gould. It's woven into the fabric of life here, something we talk about, prepare for, experience, and reflect on. It becomes a constant thread in each student's journey, which you'll hear about soon, whether they are here for 1 year or for 4. Simply put, 4-point is inspired by the compass rose and reflects our commitment to helping students go in every direction possible. For 9th graders, the program centers on immersive travel. For 10th graders, it focuses on service, connection, and intensive art experiences. For 11th graders, it culminates in a 9-day winter expedition. And for 12th graders, it means choosing their own path, designing and pursuing an independent project that takes them in whatever direction they choose. 4-point asks students to try, to stretch, to grow, to discover, and follow their passions. Today we'll hear from 4 students who have lived the experience, and they'll share what 4-point has meant to them this year. We will start with Sol Smith, who went to Senegal.
Good morning, everyone. So for those of you who don't know, Freshman 4-point is a 10-day immersive experience where we travel to another country, and 3 of these days are spent staying with a host family. So for my Freshman 4-point, as a French student, I went to Senegal. At first, when I heard that I was going to Senegal, I was a little bit nervous. Going someplace where I didn't necessarily know the language too well, and I wasn't going to have any technology to assist me. I was pretty nervous. But what really made me, when I got there, feel at home and secure was my leaders, Dave and Miss Stack. They really supported me and helped me feel like I was secure, and they really supported me. And while I was there was definitely a few moments where I felt like I just kind of wanted to go home, and I didn't want to stay there. But most of the time, I had lots of fun. And I wanted to share a few moments and highlights from my trip that was a lot of fun. While we were there, we collaborated with local artists, and we made these chickens, sculptures out of paper mache and recycled materials. We learned from our local guide, El Haji. He was very kind, and he welcomed us into his home, and he spent his 10 days following us around and making sure that we were okay and helping us. And also we spent a day working and helping on a farm. And that was a great experience. To me, I really think that Freshman 4-point is an essential part of the Gould experience, and I think it gives students a perspective that you can't really just learn in a classroom from a textbook. It really teaches you about how other cultures operate, and I think that it's a very important part of who we are at Gould and what makes us so special. And here are a few other photos from our trip. I'm going to turn it over to Harry Hughes, who's going to talk a little bit about sophomore 4-point.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here to talk about the sophomore experience. The ripple effect from a droplet of water shows us how one small action can spread and change to make a bigger impact. Throughout the week, each sophomore was subconsciously making decisions that could change the course of action. In my example, this represents the water droplet itself. During the week, we volunteered at the root cellar, helping to make resumes for local community members who didn't speak much English. To me, we were the droplet, and the people who we were helping were the beautiful ripples. One small action from us could help those people make a difference in their own lives by potentially getting a job. To me, this is the ripple effect. This doesn't only happen during volunteering, but also everyday life at Gould. During 4-point, our grade participated in 2 different workshops. For me, I took a sewing class and circus training. In my ripple effect example, the leaders Aaron, Miles, and Alexa represented the water droplets, and the ripples are created from a combination of all that we learned in a 4-day window. I learned so much and created a few things too, including the sweater I'm wearing now. And I'm very appreciative for these workshops, as I learned things that I can take into my own life, but also share with others. Learning skills was the droplet, and using them and showing others creates the ripples. On the 3rd day, we had our day of fun. We all went bowling, shopping, and even had a dinner at a huge Asian buffet. This day was a standout because this is where I made stronger and even new connections with my classmates. The way in which I interact with someone can make a huge difference. That is why treating people with kindness and respect is so important. That day, we were all the droplets, and we all created ripples. These ripples had a massive impact because it makes even stronger bonds between classmates. Gould is a relatively small school, which means that you become especially close with one another, and it's in our best interest to keep strong relationships going and create new ones. Sophomore 4-point is a great opportunity for you to help others, learn and create new things, and strengthen your community as a whole grade. Beyond my life at Gould, I believe that the ripple effect from one water droplet is an important life lesson. If each individual in this room each contributed one thing a day, we as a community will gain so much and will have a bigger impact on society. Thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to Rosie now.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rosie Barstow, here to share about Junior 4-point. For those unfamiliar with the program, Junior Point is a 9-day camping expedition in the woods. This year's trips had a unique start. It was raining so much on day 1, it was decided best for us to sleep under structures that first night. Others went off to cabins or yurts, which is slightly less embarrassing than what my group did. It was day 2 of Junior Point, and we still had not left the field house. I'll admit, I felt kind of like a chump. For 40 years, groups have gone out to endure all sorts of cruel weather, and I was spending the first leg of my trip indoors. It's not that I wanted to be drenched, but I did want the experience, the challenge of Junior Point. I wanted to be able to lean in someday and tell an underclassman, "You can't imagine the things I've seen." So when I walked into the bathroom the morning of day 2 and realized we were out of paper towels, I knew this was it. The defining moment of my Gould career. Oh, I looked at my hands, my wet hands. This is it. This is Junior Point. I know struggle. I wasn't aware at the time, but I had just gotten the worst of the experience out of the way. I'm sure that in this program's history, many have salivated at the thought of one last night in the woods, one more day with plumbing and heating. However, this was not the dream of my group. By morning, we were more than ready to leave. We referred to ourselves as having cabin fever, So when Mr. Hayward dropped us off at the woods, energy was high. And this energy did not fade throughout the trip. If anything, it grew. I was with a group of remarkably positive and collaborative young women who made something known for being difficult feel easy. Our first 3 days together were simple, fun. But our trip leaders promised us that day 4 would be 5 times harder than anything we had ever done. In some ways, they were right. The hill was steep. You had to fight for every step, especially if it was your turn with the sled. And climbing up to Rogers Ledge was the closest I came to crying during the entire experience. Not from frustration or sadness, I was brought to tears with an overwhelming feeling of support. I had not gotten much, if any, sleep the night before, and I was physically and mentally exhausted. I was pulling the sled up a particularly steep pitch, and I was struggling, but I was far from alone. Issa was ahead of me, reaching her hand back, pulling me forward, while Grace Goff had grabbed the sled's tail rope, easing its weight. With this technique, by working as a unit, we had made it to the top of Rogers Ledge much faster than anticipated. The climb DC warned us to brace for, which took us just over an hour. However, any time that we saved with our quick ascent was lost during our nearly 2-hour lunch break. But it was well worth it, as I recall someone referring to it as the most fun they had had in over a decade. Now we just needed to make it down the other side of the mountain. But a common misconception is that going down is easier than going up. But when you have 40 to 50 pounds on your back, snowshoes, and a sled loaded with frozen bricks of tofu, gravity is working against you, not with you. The way down was grueling. It was hard, it was challenging. But the thing about my group, the reason I love them so much, is that we were good at laughing. The entire way down the mountain, there was a constant roaring laughter coming from Grace Scott, Caroline, and Soleil. They were all together pulling what had to be the world's heaviest sled, and whoever tied the shovel onto it did a horrible job. It was falling off the entire way down. Day 4 really tested us. It showed us whether we could hold on to the positive energy even when things got tough. And while it was the hardest day, it was also one of the most fun. It's hard to put into words what this group means to me, and the speech in no way does them justice. I'm so grateful for them to making this experience what it was, something I can think back on and feel in my chest how much I miss it. I'd like to thank my trip leaders, Julia and DC. To Julia, you have given the 9 of us a role model, someone we can look to for direction as we enter adulthood. And DC, you have forever altered the way I understand leadership. You've shown me that above anything, it's about caring for others, and it comforts me that such a gentle, good man is one that runs this school. Lastly, I would like to express my gratitude to the parents of my fellow group members. You have raised kind, spirited, resilient young women who I've come to admire greatly. You should be immensely proud of the people your daughters have become. Thank you. And now for our 2026 valedictorian, Ella Wilder.
Oh God, I don't know how I'm gonna top that. That was really good. Whew. Okay, on to senior 4-point. So, following the spirit of junior 4-point, what I decided to do with my independent project was spend 4 weeks in the Wind River Range of Wyoming completing a NOLS backpacking course. My essential question for my senior 4-point, and for those of you who don't know, your senior 4-point is an independent project of your own choosing, and it's customary to have an essential question that guides the student through their project. So my essential question was, what can 30 days in the wilderness teach me about connection to people, place, and myself, and about who I want to be after high school? So for those of you who don't know, NOLS is the National Outdoor Leadership School, and they're a nonprofit based in the United States that is dedicated to teaching environmental ethics, technical outdoor skills, wilderness medicine, risk management and judgment, leadership on extended wilderness expeditions. They offer many courses in backpacking, kayak canoeing, etc., and have trained more than 280,000 students over the past 60 years. Uh-oh, that's out of order. Mr. Hayward? Okay, we're missing a slide. Okay, pretend there's a slide that says the beginning. So my inspirations for this project stem from Junior 4-Point. A year ago, I went on a trip similar to Rosie's, similar to the trip that Rosie just described, in which I spent 9 days doing winter camping with a group of 9 girls in the White Mountains. This was a challenging trip, as it always is, but the thing that I took from it was when the bus arrived on day 9, I was lingering back and had this overwhelming feeling of wanting to stay. I did not want to leave the outdoors, and I knew that I was craving something longer. So, about a day after I got back, I was on spring break, and I began researching longer trips. One of my Junior 4-Point leaders had recommended NOLS, and I spent my entire spring break scouring their website looking for a course that felt right for me. I landed on the Wind River Wilderness Expedition course for ages 16 and 17, which is a backpacking course that specializes in leadership, backpacking, and outdoor risk management skills. The course was 4 weeks long and met from June 9th to July 8th. And so I applied for this to be my Senior 4-Point project, and I also applied for the Senior 4-Point scholarship, which was in its second year when it was my turn to apply. I was granted the scholarship, which gave me a budget to help plan my gear and the travel logistics to get out to Wyoming. I spent the spring leading up to June planning, getting gear, most of which I borrowed from Gould, which I am very grateful for. The pack on my back and the pants I was wearing and the gaiters on my ankles, a lot of stuff was from Gould. Let me think. Okay. Man, that slide was important. No, it's okay. Okay, so I'm ready. I've got my gear. I'm flying out. I land in Lander, Wyoming, and I meet my group. Let's get into the important part. So we get out there. I spent 30 days backpacking through the Wind River Range, traveling over 105 miles with a group of 12 people my age. I had never met any of them before, but they were the most important people I've met. The trip itself was not necessarily about the location or the beautiful mountains you see behind me, but about the people I was with. Building off of Junior 4-Point, I knew that I was someone who was comfortable in the outdoors, but I hadn't yet grown into my full potential as a leader. This NOLS course taught me both to have confidence in myself and to have confidence in other people. Being able to connect with a group of strangers like this in such an intimate setting over 30 days is something that's truly special and something that I would not have had the confidence to do if it weren't for Junior 4-Point and if it weren't for this course itself. These people became my family, and I had the opportunity to lead these people on a 4-day expedition at the end of the trip without instructors, just me, 3 other students, completely on our own, which is when I got to test the true power of my wilderness and outdoor skills that I had learned in the previous 3 weeks. The main takeaway from this trip is that I went in as someone who was nervous about my ability to connect with other people and the ability to connect with myself. What I learned is that the outdoors has a lot to offer, and that experiential learning is, personally for me, the best way that I can grow and become the best person that I can be. My advice for juniors when it comes to Senior 4-Point is doing something that's going to excite you and fulfill you. The project is entirely your own. So I suggest taking a risk. If you have an idea that you think might qualify for a project, tell someone. They can encourage you, on your next steps. Additionally, I would say go into every experience with the assumption that it will change your life, because inspiration will not strike if you are not open to it. If I had not gone into my junior 4-point with the expectation that it was going to change my life, I would not have been open to pursuing a NOLS course for my senior 4-point. My last piece of advice is that you do not need to save the world. It is okay to only save one person, and it's okay if that person is yourself. I was looking for an experience that was going to change me fundamentally as a person, and this is exactly what I got. My future plans, stemming off of the last 4 years at Gould and the last 4 years of 4-point programs, have introduced me to the world of experiential learning. Each experience at Gould has built off of the one before it. 9th grade 4-point trip to Spain opened me up to the opportunity to have an exchange semester my sophomore year, and the 10th grade community building helped me gain a better connection and sense of self when I was in Spain that following spring. Additionally, my junior point trip encouraged me to have confidence in the outdoors, which led me to pursue NOLS as my senior 4-point. Experiential learning also shifted my college search priorities, leading me to find some really interesting schools and programs, and ultimately has led to my commitment to Colorado College for the next 4 years. Yes, thank you. If you'd like to hear more about the college process, come to the college counseling panels from 10:15 to 12:15. I'll be there. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you for hearing about Gould's 4-point.